Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for a video response episode here on the channel. This is going to be kind of a dual or a combined VR that was put out there by For the Polls, which is a great channel, rips a lot of hockey product, a lot of Allen and Ginter, seems like a genuinely good dude. And he put together this video response as sort of like a tribute to Jon Burgess, the Autograph Fisherman. And Jon is just a super awesome, supportive member of the YouTube community. I can tell you, he watches nearly every one of my videos, or at least seems to comment on nearly every one of my videos. Solid guy. He just has an amazing passion for the hobby, but also the YouTube community, and is just so supportive. Jon, as all of us do from time to time that collect for a long time, was experiencing, I think, a little bit of burnout lately, and was considering taking a break from his channel. Thankfully, he decided against that in the end. But I think For the Polls just wanted to put this out there as a way to show Jon some love and appreciation in the community. And so the VR itself, Jon is a big autograph guy, as you can tell by his name, the Autograph Fisherman. And for the response, they just want you to show 5 or more autographed cards that you like in your collection. And in order to get through that today, I picked out 5 hockey cards to respond to the VR because it just felt right. You know, obviously I could have done baseball instead, but Jon's a hockey guy primarily, and this video response and tribute is all about him, so we're going to do hockey. Before we get to that, I do have some nice background cards up today. This beautiful Gordie Howe insert out of Panini Prism that we spoke about recently that has Lord Stanley's Cup with that glorious Panini etching. Just a fantastic card. I showed that off recently, but thought I would leave it out here since we are in the midst now of the Stanley Cup Finals here as the season winds down. And then I wanted to get a new card out to go along with that. This is one that I picked up off of ComC over the last year. It's one of these beautiful canvas retired player images, and it features Ken Morrow of the Islanders dynasty in the early 80s that won 4 straight Stanley Cup championships. Of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning are vying for their 3rd straight championship in this year's finals. So this felt like a fitting one to break out. I just love the photograph here. This is like a $2 card, but as soon as I ran into that, I just had to snatch that one up for my collection of the greatest trophy in sports. So with that Stanley Cup discussion out of the way and the background set, let's just get into these 5 autographs that I chose. Some of these have been shown on the channel before, but I did at least pick out one new one that you've never seen. And unless you watch all of my videos, which would be really a feat considering I put one out just about daily, it's probable that you haven't seen one or more of the other ones anyway. So we're going to start off with a card that was huge in the hockey card landscape. This card to me is akin to the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. in the baseball realm, in that it ushered in a whole new era of hockey card collecting. So in 1990, the hockey card landscape expanded from basically Topps and O-Pee-Chee, who had dominated it for, 3 decades or more, 2 or 3 decades. And a bunch of new players got into the mix, Upper Deck, Pro Set, etc. And one of those was Score. And Score was the only company in 1990 that produced a trading card of the guy who is the next big thing in hockey, Eric Lindros. It was a future superstar card. And I'm lucky enough to be the owner of a beautiful autographed version of this card. Picked this up on eBay maybe a year or 2 ago. I knew this was a special card at the time. Just love that it's authenticated by PSA. The signature is in the perfect spot here on the nice white of the boards. And it's even inscribed with a Hall of Fame 2016 inscription by Eric Lindros. So a Hall of Fame player. But this one was selected more so for the card itself than the subject. If you were collecting hockey cards back in 1990, then you remember kind of what a big deal that was. But this card was lighting the world on fire in 1990, and still just a cool card to this day for that reason. So I wanted to fit that one into the countdown. The next one that we have is a new one that I've never shown on the channel before, and chose this one because it's from the very first set of hockey cards that I ever collected as a kid, the 89-90 O-Pee-Chee and Topps sets. And this is an on-card autograph of Mr. Adam Oates. Fantastic player. The signature is not the greatest. It's kind of a thin Sharpie that was used here, but you can make it out if I tilt it right in the light. And the other problem is these 89, 90 cards are very dark for the most part as far as the photographs that were chosen. So they don't always work well for signatures. But I wanted to get this into the countdown because it's very special to me, being an autographed card of a really good player from the first year that I ever collected. And what this is a buyback auto. So in the late 2000s, O-Pee-Chee had some of the athletes autograph some of their older cards like this one and then issued them as pack issued inserts. And you can see there's a serial number on the back here, O-Pee-Chee 15489. That corresponds to like an authentication or a certificate of authenticity that came alongside the card in the pack. You can see the matching number there on the hologram. And that's a really cool O-Pee-Chee hologram on a side note. Looks beautiful on video here. But this was kind of a cool way for Upper Deck to allow collectors to pull autographed versions, certified pack pulled autographs of cards that they grew up collecting. And I'm really happy to have this one. I do have a few others of these that I'll show off, in the future here on the channel, but I thought that Oates was a nice one for today, and a nice card given that it had never appeared on this channel previously. So it was a good opportunity to dust that off and give it a little bit of time in the sun. Next up, the third card out of 5 that I chose, my first ever and probably still only TTM request. This is a story that I've told before, but I thought it was important to include this card in the countdown just because Jon, the Autograph Fisherman, is a TTM enthusiast and collector, and I swear the guy has just about everybody who's ever suited up for an NHL game in his TTM collection. It's insane. So I'll try to keep this brief. I'm already at the 7-minute mark, but when I was a little kid, played youth hockey growing up all the way through the end of high school, learned to skate when I was 5 or 6 years old, loved the sport, and like many kids in that era, one of my idols was Wayne Gretzky. So when I got into hockey card collecting in the late 80s, early 90s, as a young kid, sent off this card to be signed by Wayne and got it back in the mail a couple of months later. It's the 91-92 Pro Set. Chose this at the time because it does feature my beloved Hartford Whalers in the background. You can see Sylvain Cote there against the LA Kings. Was able to actually see Gretzky play in person against the Whalers with the Kings, probably around the time that this card was issued. So it was kind of a cool one for me. To this day, I don't know if this is a legit auto or if it was, signed by one of Wayne's assistants, or maybe my dad snatched it out of the mail and faked it just to make my day. I really don't know, but it does look legitimate compared to other Gretzky autographs that I've seen online and or maybe have in my own collection in one case. So I think it's legit, and no matter what, it's really more about the story and the memories behind that card and playing youth hockey, being a fan of the great one, and kind of the anticipation of checking the mailbox to see if he was going to return that TTM for me as the weeks went by. So nice card there with a lot of childhood memories, and obviously, Wayne's one of the best players, or arguably the best player ever to lace up skates. So having his autograph on a card that I've had since childhood is really, really special. And like I said, thought it was the perfect one to include in a VR for someone who specializes in TTMs. 2 to go here. The first one is a hockey card I've shown before, but it's not been shown on the channel in a long time. But this is a multiplayer autograph from the early 70s. So this card was brought around presumably to different card shows or events by someone, and they managed to get all 4 players who are pictured on the card to sign it, and it looks beautiful. So this is from the 71-72 Topps hockey release, and it features the goalie wins leaders from the season prior. All 4 guys should sign this. I adore this card. I've never seen another one like it. I really, probably more than anything else when it comes to collecting, I enjoy the opportunity to pick up something that's kind of special or rare or scarce that you just don't see every day. I like ripping packs of the newest product just as much as anybody else, but I think what really makes a collection special, or at least the way I like to enjoy the hobby, is supplementing that with kind of some really unique pieces. And this certainly qualifies. I find it amazing that 4 people signed this card the way they did and didn't write over anybody's face. The way these are kind of portrayed or laid out on the card is perfect for the signatures. 3 out of these 4 guys are enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Tony Esposito, who's in the lead position here on the left, is now no longer with us and passed away. One of the best goalies of the 70s and 80s. So this is just an awesome card. Of course, Jerry Cheevers, who brought home the Stanley Cup championship to the city of Boston alongside Ed Johnston and Ed Jockman, who is no slouch in his own right. So just love this one. Got this for a song quite a while ago, and to this day, it remains one of my absolute favorite hockey autos just because of how unique it is. So thought that was a fitting one to bring back out from the already shown on YouTube box and use again for this VR. And then we're going to close it out with perhaps the most appropriate card for this video response. Can't think of a card that would be better to show for Jon the Autograph Fisherman than this. It is the autographed slabbed rookie card of his personal favorite player, Theo Fleury, with the Calgary Flames. So Fleury is a very interesting individual who's overcome quite a bit of turmoil in his life, struggled with some things, but there was a reason for it. And, you can look him up if you want to read into his backstory. He's a very interesting character in the history of the game, was just so exciting to watch. One of the fastest guys on skates, kind of reminded me of like Pavel Bure or guys of that ilk who were just absolute rockets on ice. And this is a beautiful on-card signature example slabbed of his O-Pee-Chee rookie, which came in the 89-90 O-Pee-Chee set. It's card number 232, so what that means is he was not included in the top set this year. O-Pee-Chee had a larger checklist than tops, and so he was one of the players that was featured only in O-Pee-Chee in 89-90, making this his really his only true rookie card. Very grateful to have a signed copy of that one, and as I said, I couldn't think of a single card. It was the first one that I thought of when I decided that I was going to put this VR together, and I think it's probably the most fitting card in my whole collection to pay tribute to someone who thrives on collecting autographs. So that's a wrap. That is my VR featuring 5 cool hockey card autos. Really appreciate everything that you do, Jon, on your channel and to support the community at large. And big shout out again to For the Polls for putting this together for Jon and showing him some community love. So I will leave links to both channels in the description below in the event that you're not subscribed to either of those gentlemen. And in the meantime, I appreciate you stopping by to check out these autos, and we'll certainly be back in the near future with some more sports card content. Until then, take care.